Hi, Henny, how are you? It's Teknikolour, and today I thought we could look at my latest submission to another shell challenge. This time, Little Simsies Play Live shell challenge. And this one was really challenging. I wasn't expecting to do not a residential build. I've always done a residential build, but my boyfriend actually convinced me to step outside of my comfort zone, and I decided to make a cafe residential hybrid, maybe? Let's go check it out, shall we? I'm also going to be honest, I struggled with two parts of this build specifically. Everything else I felt like I kind of had a handle on, but these two specific pieces took me a really long time. And it was roofing and staircase placement. I really wasn't sure where to put those, and that's why they're not really in this speed build, because it took up a lot of time, like a lot more than you would expect. But I decided on dropping in the staircases over to the right side of the entrance, and somehow it fit with my vision for all of the floors. It's a little awkward on the top floor, but I don't mind it. And I think once you see when we get to that spot that it makes a ton of sense how I did it. So that bump out on the top floor, I knew from the beginning that I wanted the entrance right underneath that. But that bump out, I wanted to have that big, massive window from Growing Together, one of the modern ones. But because it's essentially like one big pane of glass, I wanted that look to continue downwards. And I wanted there to be a lot of like that black trim everywhere, which is why I used the columns. I also knew that right underneath that big window and that big bump out, that on the right side, there wasn't a wall there, but you can use half walls. So I decided to use the tallest half wall size and put the window there. And I think it's not really noticeable that it's a half wall. It's not a full wall, but I don't know. I think it fools you. I think it works. I decided very early on that I wanted the building to have a sort of two-tone look to it, which I feel like I've done a lot in my modern style builds. I think I've only done two now, but the first one that I did, there's actually a speed build here on YouTube, but I did like a vertical two-tone, so only a part of it was a different color. This little bump out in the back, I struggled with for a really long time. I cut out everything that I tried to do, but originally I was gonna have it as this sort of external clock tower looking thing, and it just looked really weird. So I ended up using the half wall at like the tallest height again, and then making a little chimney and keeping my fireplace placed right there. I've really wanted the decor to the Max kit recently, and I snagged it in the latest update. So you can see that flooring is used quite a bit in this build. It also lended itself well to this build because I wanted it to have this sort of funky atmosphere, even back when it was just going to be a residential build and it wasn't going to be like partially a cafe. I wanted it to, I don't know, sort of emulate this cafe that I used to spend not even all that much time in, but it left kind of an impression on me. When I was in college, there was this cafe that was really cool that a bunch of us would go to occasionally, but it was just like this really funky kind of atmosphere, and I really dug it. I've seen some other builders make these sort of bordered flower beds using fencing, and I wanted to recreate that, and I felt like this spot right off of where we end up putting the kitchen would be perfect for that. And I also knew that I wanted to have that big window from the Desert Luxe kit. Originally, I felt a little awkward having the front of the building not have a window right at that spot. And we do end up putting two windows there, but originally I was gonna have this window there. And I think it fits way better with the flower bed, like way better. I also really wanted to use the tiles for the kitchen from the high school years back, and it didn't work no matter what I did. I feel like I've used them before in a way that I liked, but I ended up using a completely different floor tile. And I also really like having that designation of the two different spaces, so you can see like where the hardboard is and then where the tile is. Usually like you would have like a saddle or something, and nobody really does that in The Sims, but there's a couple of packs where you can have like a fencing that your Sims can just walk over. I realized recently that I have access to one of them, and I've been using it a lot because I really like the idea of it. It looks more finished to me personally. I'm also going to be honest, I kind of struggled with the kitchen a bit. I knew overall what I wanted it to look like, but I couldn't figure out how to make it fit. So I kept moving the cabinets around, I kept moving the appliances. I really could not figure out the best way to lay out the kitchen. And then somehow I just landed on this, and having not a door, but just an opening. And once I decided to do that, I feel like it kind of fell into place. And then that also led me to that area kind of like right off of the kitchen where there was space for 2 bathrooms, this is when I decided that I wanted it to be a cafe. And then I decided that there wasn't enough room for a dining room. And then I was like, oh no, because I didn't know where else I could put the bathroom. And then I was originally thinking, am I going to have to undo this entire kitchen that I did and figure out something else? But then I decided, wait a minute, that space kind of exists upstairs with a little bit more space. Why don't I just move the bathrooms up? So I did, but then there was too much room and I wasn't sure what to do. And something that I've done in some of my other builds unsuccessfully is make an aquarium window. I really wanted that to work, and I was going to do it on the inside. You can see me trying to place some windows on the inside of that one bathroom, and it just didn't look right. So I decided, wait, this is an exterior window on the other side. I could just do it there. And I did it there, and I feel like it looks so good. I kind of want to use that in other builds, but so it's less of like one small window. I think I would want to have it so that it's a couple of them, so it almost looks like there's like this big aquarium sort of wall. Once I decided to get rid of the bathrooms on the main floor and move them upstairs, I now had enough room for a dining room. And I know it's not a restaurant, it's a cafe, but I feel like the cafe that I went to in college also had some sort of dining area, or at least something with more tables and less of a lounge spot. Since it had that, I also wanted there to have something similar in this build. I also don't know if it works gameplay wise because I've never dealt with this before, and when I did playtest, everything seemed to work, but my sim couldn't then live in the build. So I don't know if I did it wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to use a generic lot or make it residential where it just has a cafe as part of it. I'm not sure. I knew that I wanted 2 spaces that were 2 distinct spots where you could be. One that was a sort of dining room and another one that was a lounge. And I kind of felt like the lounge would be a great spot where you could be a little bit louder. You could do some studying. And that's why this is open to the entrance, like that foyer area, but the dining room is not. While I was doing this build, I was chatting in one of my friends' streams on Twitch, and they were talking about the Gilmore Girls, which I've never seen before, and honestly, I don't know that much about, but I kind of want to watch it after they were talking about it. And the conversation, I mean, was sort of lending me towards this sort of style of build. I wanted like an eclectic sort of look. I wanted something that had mismatched furniture, but also that cozy vibe. And I wanted it to be a place where college students or even high school students would feel comfortable going there and spending their time. So I kind of built this with that in mind, and I would be really interested to like watch the Golden Girls and then finally see what that's all about. And I don't know if that kind of fits in with my vision of it here that I was using as part of my build. But Kip, if you're watching this, thank you for getting me interested in the Gilmore Girls. I also wanted like the layered look of the different rugs. You can see that I started to use the one from Laundry Day, which I've never really found a good use for. I don't think it looks all that good. I think the rugs themselves look a little strange. I feel like they would be perfect for a laundry room or maybe a garage or something where it's the style of rug that's not necessarily comfy, if that makes sense, but I wanted a comfier look here. I also found this really cool rug for the foyer that it just screams funky to me. And I liked having it that it fit specifically in that spot, which really was just luck. I really wanted that because it looks kind of trippy. So it's like you walk in and you're already like, oh, this is kind of interesting. You know what I mean? It felt like a place where I would want to go. Right next to that staircase is a place for garbage, but also bulletin board and this random door that leads to the basement. I decided that I wanted the basement to be a break room for the employees of the cafe. But before I decided that, I wanted to make the basement be, or at least have, a laundry room and storage area that would both be for the cafe and for the owner, because I made this as like a partial residential lot and partial cafe lot. So there's a studio apartment attached to this, and I originally was trying to make a ladder that went from the basement to the top floor, which is where the studio apartment is. You'll see that a little bit later. I couldn't get the ladder to work. Everything that I did, I don't know what I did wrong. I just couldn't get it to work. I've seen other people make ladders that like span that long, I think, and it just wouldn't work. I would try to get rid of the ground floor's floor, and it would get rid of the floor and leave the grass. So like it wouldn't go down to the basement, even though it was open, like it would be open to the basement, like if it worked. I couldn't get it to work. So I don't know what I did wrong, but I decided it wouldn't make sense, because I was like, this is so that it's easier for the owner to get all the way down to the basement and grab whatever they would need or do some laundry. And then I was like, how would they get the laundry up and down? They would have to climb a ladder. That's weird. So I can't even explain to you how long I spent trying to get the ladder thing to work. And then when I decided, this doesn't make sense. It was so long. I think I spent like an hour and a half trying to get this thing to work. So like a lot of that part of the build got cut out, obviously. But once I decided to make it into a break room, oh my God, it was like a game changer. It was so simple to furnish it downstairs, and you'll see later on. But then I still needed an area for laundry, because I wanted the owner to have some laundry in there. I mean, I do have the laundry day kit anyway. I wanted the owner to be able to do laundry in their own studio apartment. So I made it work. Once I got up to working on the upper floor, I knew that I needed to section off part of the floor plan to fit a studio apartment. But I also wanted the studio apartment to have its own entrance, but its own entrance with a foyer. I didn't want it to just be this door that anyone could just wander into. I wanted it to look as if it was this specific entrance to something else. Both foyers, I think, look really good. And I decided that I wanted to fit a lot in this studio apartment. I wanted a large bathroom. I wanted a kitchen. I wanted the foyer. I wanted laundry. I wanted a bed/living space. And I think I fit all of it. I think I got all of it to work. And I feel like it doesn't look that cramped. I'm really happy with myself. But I also knew when I was sectioning off this spot that I needed space for that large cafe counter, because that was basically the only restriction that I knew that I was going to struggle with getting that to fit somewhere. And I really didn't want to undo anything that we had downstairs, like the kitchen. And I wasn't sure where am I going to have this fit. But then I was like, I wonder if it'll fit right between this wall where the door to the balcony is and the staircase. And it fits perfectly. It was like meant to be. I feel like a lot of people would also say, why does the studio apartment need its own kitchen or kitchenette? But there's such a big kitchen downstairs, and it sort of felt more like an industrial kitchen, even though I used the exact same cabinets. I think I used the Parenthood cabinets, but I don't know. I just wanted it to look separate. And I also wanted it to be convenient for the owner. So if they were to like make their own dinner, maybe people are also still in the cafe. They would have to walk up from that kitchen, either eat with the rest of the customers or go all the way upstairs to their own apartment. I just felt like it would be like weird. Maybe that's the introvert in me. Maybe that's the anxiety speaking. I'm not sure. It's probably a combination of both, but I felt like they needed their own kitchen upstairs. For the studio apartment's bathroom, I knew that I wanted it to be a little funky as well. I wasn't sure how to make that happen and not have it be a carbon copy of the customer bathrooms. And it wouldn't be a huge deal if it was, because there's no entrance for customers to mistakenly use it. I still wanted it to look like its own bathroom, but still have that same style inspiration. I think the way that I achieve that is to have that sort of waterfall of tiles. So you can see the majority of the walls of the bathroom have that darker tile, but behind the shower tub combo is that white tile that goes down to the floor. So I feel like that kind of got what I wanted, along with the curtains. I really like the curtains. I think they look good. Another pack that I've wanted for a fair amount of time now, but I was waiting for another sale, is the Jungle Adventure pack. I know it's a bit older and it's probably unexpected that it would be one that I would be really itching for, but I've just really wanted it specifically for the floors. I know that's weird. I knew that there were other items in it that I liked that I could probably get use out of, but I knew for the hardwood floors, I really wanted it. And that's kind of due to Little Simsy. I feel like Little Simsy has used that flooring a lot, but I wanted to use it. I wanted to use it in a lot of my builds. So even though I'm partial to the cats and dogs flooring, I really wanted to have the Jungle Adventure flooring. And thankfully, Epic Games decided to do this free bundle, and I was able to get that as well as some other stuff. And I don't know, I feel like I was able to get a lot of the furniture pieces from Jungle Adventure to fit into this build. At some point, I realized that I didn't have any trash cans anywhere on the build, and it's a requirement for the cafe lot type. So I had to throw them in every spot that you would need for a cafe, but also for the studio apartment upstairs. You might be asking yourself, Tech, there is such a nice fancy kitchen downstairs. And okay, maybe what you had in plan for the owner to have a similar kitchen upstairs, okay, we'll buy into that idea. But why does it need to be the exact same cabinets and appliances? Because I like them. I know they're super expensive. I like them a lot. Like, I feel like I probably will only use these in my kitchens going forward, at least for a while, because I really like the look of them. I've used them in my Legacy Challenge that I just started on my Twitch channel, and they're expensive. It's a very small kitchen in that build, and it's very expensive, but I really like the look of it. Once I got to decorating the greenhouse, I knew that I didn't want it to be a typical greenhouse anymore where you would be working on your gardening. I wanted it to be a place where you could admire the plants and have maybe 1 or 2 tables in there. So it's another spot for the customers to enjoy, and it's not just a residential greenhouse. I think it works, but I don't know how well it works. Since there's only one table in there, there's really not that much room in that spot. I think I'm happy with it, but it's not what I had envisioned in the beginning, and I didn't really want to change it and like have it look like this weird addition of the first floor if I made it not look like a greenhouse. So overall, I like the look of it. I'm pleased with how the greenhouse aspect looks, even though it's not a regular greenhouse. I also found the landscaping to be a little challenging because I wanted it to still have all of the same aesthetics that we had on the interior brought out onto the exterior while still fitting the modern look. But I think because the rest of the surrounding neighborhood isn't totally modern, that I think it lent itself to me using a lot of landscape items that you probably wouldn't have expected in a modern build, like this fancy fountain and these fancy benches. But I think there's a little bit of cohesion there because the build itself and this neighborhood is a blend of both of the styles, like that old craftsman style home, but then also like these modern builds. I also kind of wanted to do something similar to the landscaping in my last Simsy Shell Challenge build, which is also in Sequoia. I could not figure out for the life of me what flowers I used or what bushes or what landscaping at all. I couldn't remember what I did, and I didn't want to open up that save. I think this sort of uses some of those same items, but looks different enough, but also similar enough that if you used both builds in your save, it'd still look really good. When I was finishing the upstairs cafe area, I wanted there to be, in that window bump out spot, I wanted there to be a little study nook, kind of like just one table upstairs that was indoors, because we have the lounge and we have the dining area and we have the whole exterior balcony and outside patio. But I wanted there to be at least one table upstairs that was sort of like a study hangout space. I knew that for the basement, I wanted a place that felt comfortable for the employees, but also not creepy. Like if you threw a bed or specific couches, it would look really weird. And I wanted something that was still comfortable, but also kind of break roomy. I wanted it to be a place where you could eat your lunch, or you can grab a coffee or a croissant from upstairs while you were working, and then go down into the break room and maybe watch a little bit of TV or play some ping pong with your coworker while you're on your break. I also wanted there to be a designated bathroom for the employees, as well as storage area like lockers and a place to hang up your coat. By the way, if you've been enjoying my Sims 4 YouTube videos here on this channel, I think that you would also enjoy my live streams over on twitch.tv/Teknikolour. I stream basically every day, not always The Sims 4, but Tuesday and Thursday mornings, at least here on the East Coast, I am doing more recently my new Legacy Challenge. You may have noticed that I just finished my The Little Mermaid Challenge, and I wanted a new Legacy Challenge, so my boyfriend and I decided to write one together, and it's the Around the World's Legacy Challenge. In addition to this current generation focusing on growing together and the infant update and that whole family style gameplay is also going to be focusing on parenthood. And actually on tomorrow's stream, I will be getting married. First, I think we have to do Harvest Fest, and then we're getting married. I'm really excited to be playing with my new founder and starting a family. So if that is your vibe and you're interested in Legacy Challenge gameplay or builds, I do a fair amount of that over on my Twitch channel. You might have also noticed my The Legend of Zelda themed shirt here. Tears of the Kingdom just came out and I'm obsessed with it. We've been playing it a fair amount on stream, and we're also going to be playing it later today if you're watching this in the morning. But I cannot wait to play more. Unfortunately, I scheduled my vacation for this upcoming week, so I'm going to miss a lot of it because I don't want to play it off stream. So if you come back to my streams next week, we're going to be doing a fair amount of Tears of the Kingdom and our Legacy Challenge in The Sims 4. I don't know how I'm going to spend this week not playing Tears of the Kingdom. I might try to beat Breath of the Wild again on a different save, but I don't know. It just feels so weird to not be playing it while everyone else is. But if you're avoiding spoilers, it's going to be a great time to come back in because it'll be new to me, but not to you. I've been looking forward to this vacation for quite some time, even though I'm a little anxious about it. I'm kind of a nervous flyer, and I also haven't gone on vacation or traveled internationally in quite a few years now. So I'm a little nervous about that aspect, but I'm really excited. We're going to Prague, and I've been learning Czech on Duolingo. Been really enjoying doing my daily Duolingo, but I'm very much looking forward to it, and I can't wait to share some of that with you. If you're not already following me on Instagram and you'd like to check out my adventures in Prague, I'm probably going to be posting a fair amount on my Instagram while I'm away. My handle is the Teknikolour. So right now the speed build is coming to a close. So since it kind of zips around a lot and it's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on, I'd like to jump into the game and show you around the build a bit. I have loaded into the game and I thought we could look around and check out the build. So down in the basement is the employee break room, and I'm really happy with this because I wanted it to look like something that was comfortable, but also sort of sterile in the way that company break rooms are. It has a place where you can drop off your stuff, you can eat your lunch, you can store your lunch, you can go to the employee bathroom, or you could just spend some time watching TV or chatting with your coworkers. On the main floor is a space for throwing your things out or also checking the neighborhood bulletin board. I'm really thrilled with the way the lounge came out. It just feels like a place where when I was in college, I would have wanted to hang out here. It also reminds me of the cafe that my friends and I would sometimes go to when we were in college. I really like the dining area, but I love the kitchen, especially having the cabinets up against this wall and the window here. I'm sure it would be really annoying because stuff would definitely fall off these cabinets onto the window, but having the window look out onto this flower bed, it just makes me really happy. I'm very pleased with the way that this turned out. The greenhouse is also really nice because it's only got one table, so it's a more like close-knit place if you were to spend some time in this particular room. The upstairs balcony is really inviting in my opinion, especially having this little aquarium here that is only visible from the outside. Having the cafe upstairs is really nice, even though it's a little disgusting right now. I'm really happy with the way that this particular spot turned out because it's very inviting, I think, from the ground to look up and see people enjoying, like just sitting here enjoying their coffee or whatever. From the inside, I think it looks really good because it really shows off the whole neighborhood. I love the way that the bathrooms turned out, and I was very shocked when I saw these doors because I don't think I've ever seen them. I think I'm going to be using them a lot. I really like the look of them. I also know it's a small part of the build, but having this little foyer to the owner's apartment, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. You've got like this little peek through the windows here, but in the actual foyer itself, it's kind of like a loading area. So it's this separation between your home space and your workspace. Of course, I love the color scheme of the owner's apartment. I just think it came together really nicely. All of this expensive cabinetry and appliances is probably a little bit overkill for a studio apartment. I just wanted it. I really like those items. I also really like having the laundry in the unit. Honestly, having this bathroom, I'm really happy with it. I would love to have this bathroom. I think it looks really nice. I think that's pretty much the entire build. So thank you so much for checking out this video. If you would like to check out more Sims content, of course, you can see some more videos here on YouTube. But if you check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Teknikolour, you can see a bunch more Sims content, including my Legacy Challenge. So Hope to see you there soon. Bye bye.